Good Friday morning to you. Happy Valentine's Day. Welcome into Morning JOX, JOX 94.5. Damian Mitchell alongside Conrad Van Order on the eve of the IBOB. Yes, the Iron Bowl of basketball. We're one more sleep away. And when we wake up on Saturday, college game day down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, at Coleman Coliseum, for number one and number two, Auburn, Alabama, in the first edition of the IBOB, the Iron Bowl of basketball. The first game set at Coleman Coliseum. And then we have the Neville Arena showdown there for the last regular season matchup between the two. And it's Friday. A lot of people sent in their scores yesterday, but it's Final Score Friday. How do you feel? How do you feel like this game is going to go between Alabama and Auburn? Number one versus number two. Auburn comes in as number one team in the nation. Alabama up at number two as well. And again, if there's anything that we've seen, Alabama is not just a football state. Now it's a basketball state, because the two best teams in college basketball reside here in our state of Alabama. And I think it's going to be an exciting matchup tomorrow. We'll give you our final scores there at the end, but we want to hear from you. 205-834-9450. Your text message, your calls always welcome here on Morning JOX. Conrad, with one more day, has your thoughts about this game changed a little bit? Do you feel like you have a lean? I know you're probably going to, I understand. Big Crimson Tide guy, alumni. But also, hey, you have shown that you can take off the crimson colored glasses and look at your own school very objectively.
So the only reason Alabama would win is because I went there?
No.
You don't think they have a chance?
Oh, absolutely. I
don't feel like you think they have a chance.
Listen, man, it ain't by accident they go out here and score 100 points on anybody. It don't matter. But no, I do think it's going to be a competitive matchup. But just the layout of the land. Do you feel as though like we're going to be this is going to be one of the best games in college basketball that we've seen in a long time?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be one of the best games of the year. I hope it's one of the best games of the year. I mean, at the end of the day, even, obviously I want Alabama to win, but more than anything, I just want a good basketball game, right? And a competitive game. And I want us to walk away from the game tomorrow, regardless of who wins, and go, yeah, okay, those are the two best teams in the country. And I think that's what we're going to get. Again, like we have kind of talked about all week, there should be no need for any extra motivation, anything like that for the players tomorrow, because again, it is 1 versus 2 and it's your biggest rival. You literally cannot ask for a more pivotal matchup in a regular season environment than what you're going to get tomorrow. So no, I think it's going to be great. I think the atmosphere is going to be great. Obviously, with game day being down there, that adds a little something to it. But I expect it to be an incredibly close game. And I think, again, the turnovers will be a big factor in that, mainly on the Alabama side of things. If, we were talking about if you get to about 85, that's probably a sweet spot for you if you're Alabama. That would be the most points that Auburn's given up at any point this year. And if you can keep the turnovers to 12 or less, I think you're going to be in a good position. Because, again, as we've talked about, just based on the style of play for them, turnovers can be a little more frequent at times because they do go so fast. And that's why there are times where it can feel like, if you have 2 or 3 turnovers back to back to back, I mean, Alabama could have the ball for a total of, maybe 15 seconds in those possessions. And it just feels like it goes downhill so quickly. So I still think that's going to be a huge factor in that. But no, I think it's going to be an excellent game. And it's one of those, you're kind of splitting hairs, right? If you pick Auburn to win, don't have any problem with that. If you pick Alabama to win, don't have any problem with that. I just, I'm kind of looking at it like I expect Alabama to get theirs tomorrow in Coleman, and I expect Auburn to get theirs at the end of the year in Neville. So we'll see if it plays out that way.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. Matchup tomorrow there from Coleman Coliseum, of course. Again, it's Final Score Friday. A lot of people sent in their scores yesterday, and we're not holding it against you. It's just now that we're, a little over 24 hours away from the game, how do you think it's going to go? And we're getting some action here early on. Steven, he texted in. He says, I think Auburn slows the game down with their good defense. He thinks Auburn wins 74-68. Now, I will say that's kind of the biggest, I guess you say, question mark or thing I'm looking for tomorrow is how does Auburn match the pace? Do they try to slow it down? Do they force Alabama to take tough shots? Because I do think that the biggest thing that Auburn needs to worry about is if Alabama gets hot. And you saw what happened against Texas this week. So is it a snowball phase? Is it something that, we see that we got it. We did this on the road. How about we do this in the confines of our home stadium, our home gym, and see how it goes? Because I do think that they're going to be aggressive. They're going to try to attack. And how early does each team or either team gets the other one in foul trouble? And key on depending on who it is. So, like, say if Janai Broome picks up 2 early fouls, does that change the game plan for Auburn moving forward? Dylan Cardwell steps into that big man role, and how small do you go? Because I made a mention yesterday that, Auburn should probably start off a little small just to at least be able to pick the pace up with Alabama going up and down the floor. But I'm interested to see how it goes, because I do think that Alabama and both Auburn have they have a tendency to foul in key situations. And also for Auburn, something that's been kind of a recurring theme the past couple games is giving the opponent second chance opportunities and the offensive rebounds, when most of them have just been like the long rebounds where it's a long miss and a guard will end up picking it up at the 3-point line and they just basically reset the offense again. I don't think you want to do that with Alabama, because if, somebody misses a long three, it may be another 3-point attempt coming on the second shot. So I'm interested to see how this thing goes. But I think I agree with you 100%. I think you can't have it any better than what it is going to be. Number 1 versus number 2. It's your arch rival, and it's the first of 2 matchups and potentially more down the road that we're going to see Alabama and Auburn.
I mean, outside of obviously bragging rights and being the number 1 team in the country when the AP poll comes out on Monday, I mean, whoever wins will be in first place in the SEC. You'll have I would say you would have or be the favorite to have the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament, which is certainly nothing. That's pretty impressive. And on top of all of that, knowing with what you have left, the rest of the stretch, Auburn plays, I think, 5 of their last 7 against ranked opponents. Alabama, 7 of their last 7 are against ranked opponents. So again, if you lose this one and, let's say, heaven forbid, you trip up midweek next week or something like that, whoever loses, and you're looking at back-to-back losses, you could just quickly see where things could, this stretch is going to be pretty difficult. And, do you want to go into the postseason 4-3 in your last 7 games, after the start that you had and how, incredible both of these teams have looked up to this point? Whatever happens on Saturday, just, you don't want that to beat you. And I know, for Alabama, they're going on the road to Columbus to take on Missouri, and a top 25 matchup in the middle of the week next week. That's the kind of game where, you would expect that you're probably going to be pretty beat up after this game, because it's probably going to be a pretty physical game. So obviously from a mental and emotional standpoint going to be exhausting, I would imagine, for the players. And so that's a tricky spot. So you don't want to fall into that trap either. But, I will say I'm very fascinated to see this game, like you were talking about, from the X's and O's standpoint, and how, like you were saying with, if you're Auburn, do you start small? And then you look at it as, okay, well, are you, going into the game admitting, all right, well, we're going to cater to how Alabama likes to play and we're going to try to keep up with them, as opposed to, hey, we're the number 1 team in the country. We don't have to do that. We dictate the style of play. And you go out there and you just roll out with the 5 that you're most comfortable with. And you say, all right, beat us at our game. And, if you have to make adjustments, throughout the game, then so be it. But, that whole element of it's going to be very, very interesting to me. Like you said, I wonder kind of how, does Alabama try to attack Janai Broome a little bit? Because we've seen him be a little more susceptible on the defensive end these last couple of games, because he's not 100%. And, so is this a game where, do you put a little bit more responsibility on a guy like Cliff Amori? Do you ask Grant Nelson to, go and drive into the paint more often? What kind of things like that, does Nate Oates want his team to do? I think that side of it is going to be very, very fascinating, because these are teams, I mean, these guys have been going at it for a number of years now, and I know that the teams are different, and this is the first time they played this year, but there's certainly a level of familiarity, I think, that's come to the rivalry at this point. And, you've got 2 of the best in the business that are going to be on the sidelines on Saturday. So I'm very interested to see how that element of the game plays out, because that could ultimately be, that could be what decides the game right there.
Absolutely. And speaking of the 2 best on the sidelines, Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates, they will be on Mac and Cube this morning in the 7 o'clock hour. Bruce Pearl will be on at 7:10, and Nate Oates will be on at 7:30. So it should be interesting to hear what the coaches have to say going into pretty much the biggest game in college basketball. Number 1 versus number 2 here in the state of Alabama, and it should be fun. Continue to get your reaction on the Jocks text line and phone lines. They're open 205-834-9450. Somebody texted in and called it the Red Clay rivalry.
Yeah, we were yesterday on 3 Man Front, we were talking about different naming possibilities for the IBOB. That was one of them.
The Red Clay rivalry.
I liked the Bammer Barner Classic.
I like that.
I was a fan of that one.
The old BBC.
Yeah, we would have to fix that. That was an issue we ran into yesterday as well, Damian. Thank you for bringing that back up. What else did we have? We had the... Golly, man.
I mean, it is Valentine's Day.
It's 6 in the morning. It is 6 in the morning. Now you got somebody in the car somewhere going, what is that? Someone just had to explain that somewhere because of you. Good night. I can't. What were the other ones? Dixieland Duel.
I like that.
The Plaid versus the Plains. That was a good one. Yeah, we had a bunch that people were chiming in with yesterday. So we're trying to figure out if there's something we can do that's different than the IBOB. But yeah.
Man,
that would have been the abbreviation. Yeah,
yeah, man. Some jokes just write themselves.
Great television network from across the pond, right?
Absolutely.
That's what we're talking about.
Somebody said, Conrad, I think Alabama wins 87-76, row tie. And he said, by the way, Florida scored 90 on Auburn a week ago.
This is true.
That is true. Some people got the joke.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Some people got it. And Casey from Union Chapel texted in. He says, come on, Conrad, you want a close game? I wanted to wind up on the bad box score of the day on Mac and Cube, Roll Tide Roll.
I mean, yes, when I'm sitting on my couch watching the game, that is going to be my mindset. But when I'm here doing my job, I mean, I do legitimately want it to be a competitive game. But obviously, like, I'm not going to be mad if Alabama wins by 20. That's not going to make me upset.
If Auburn wins by 20, it will.
Yeah, that's going to make me mad.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. Understand. We got somebody else to text in. It says they have Auburn 85-80. So I think that's where it's a little bit different than it was during football season, where it felt like Auburn fans that would text in about the Iron Bowl of football and say that, they expect Auburn to win, but, they was just kind of wishful thinking. In the basketball version of the Iron Bowl, no, they legit feel like, no, we're the number 1 team in the nation. We should go over there, handle our business, come on back home and finish the rest of the schedule. But I do think this game is going to be absolutely phenomenal on both sides, because we had Justin Hokanson, who covers Auburn on Mac and Cube yesterday, and he kind of, gave us his philosophy on what Auburn should do defensively. It's basically contain Mark Sears, let everybody else beat you, let the chips fall where they may. And I think it's easier said than done, because now when we look at, I kind of thought about this. It's, okay, if there's going to be a quote-unquote legacy game for Mark Sears, which he already has stamped himself as Alabama royalty, but think about just the impact it would have if he had, a 30-point explosion against an Auburn, a number 1 ranked Auburn in the biggest of games in pretty much the history of the rivalry and the history of, Alabama and Auburn on the basketball front. And I think that it would be cool. And I think on the Auburn side of things, it's okay, Janai Broome, if you are the best player in college basketball, this is the game to show it. Because, I mean, you look at Cooper Flagg, he ain't really, besides him slipping the other day on a travel against Clemson, that's not nice. Like, he is as that advertised.
Pretty good, yeah.
And he's a freshman. Mm-hmm. Like, this is a child doing this. Janai has played a lot of college basketball, and he's taken his game to an even higher level every year that he's been at Auburn. So I think that, for him, even though he's not at 100%, this could be your Jordan Flu game. It could be, hey, I might not be 100%, but I still gave you, 25 and 8 and 25 and 10. So
we saw what he did in that Tennessee game when he came back from injury.
You feel me? Yeah. So it's like, I'm interested to see how this game is going to go. We'll continue on the other side. Get your reaction, 205-834-9450. Your text message, your calls on this Final Score Friday. What do you think the final score is going to be for the IBOB or the Red Clay rivalry or the Bama Barner Classic? It's just some of the names that we've been giving it here on Morning JOX. Keep it locked on JOX 94.5. Ah, yes, the season of love, the day of love. Happy Valentine's Day from Damian Mitchell and Conrad Van Order to you and all the lovers out there. Every day should be Valentine's Day, but we do set aside this day, February 14th, to just tell your better half that you love. A lot of love here. I don't think it'll be a lot of love tomorrow because it's Auburn and Alabama. It's a rivalry. We ain't got time for that. We keep it peaceful today, but when tomorrow comes, it's game time. It's time to lock and load. And I think it's gonna be a great game there in Coleman Coliseum. Again, tip-off is at 3:00 on ESPN. Should be an exciting matchup between the number 1 ranked Auburn Tigers and the number 2 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. And its final score Friday. We don't ask any questions. We don't need no breakdowns. I just ask you what you think the final score is going to be in the IBOB and some of the other names that it has been called the past couple of days. And I'm glad everybody got the joke. Big John texted in on this final score Friday. Unfortunately, he's got Bama 79, Auburn 75. Home court advantage. Home court is a big advantage for the Crimson Tide.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And I think, if it's a lower scoring game, I can understand how Auburn would feel like they would have the advantage of that. Now, if it's a race to 100, yeah, like I'm expecting Alabama to hit that before I would expect Auburn to get 100 points.
Yeah, I think one interesting part of the game, though, is, for Auburn, they've been better they've struggled more on the road, which you would expect. Alabama struggled more at home than they have on the road, honestly, in SEC play. So it's kind of an interesting situation where you have both teams in the environment that they don't typically perform their best at. So hopefully that home court advantage comes into play tomorrow.
Somebody, Heath texted in and asked, can we do the joke again? He didn't get a chance to hear it. It was just a play on words.
Yeah, no, we were just talking about different names for potential names for the Iron Bowl of basketball, so we, could stop calling it the IBOB. And one of them that was suggested was the Bammer Barner Classic.
Do it as you wish.
Use your context clues now.
Yeah, just if you had to abbreviate it, what would you call it? Somebody texted in the banger and the hanger.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Why are y'all like
this? That's good.
This early in the morning.
I was about to say, y'all woke up like this.
It's Valentine's Day, man. It just
that's good. I like the banger and the hanger.
The banger and the hanger. So he's got Auburn knocking off Alabama 84-72. Nick in Madison, he says realistically he has 88-84 Auburn, but he kind of wants 145-60 Auburn.
Oh, well, yeah.
Let's just be realistic, man.
It could happen.
If anybody scores 145 points in this game, don't even have the tournament. I wouldn't want to see him. I wouldn't want to see him. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Allen got it. He said, my man, it's Valentine's Day, bro. I'm trying to drive. He's got Alabama. he's got Alabama knocking off Auburn 87-79. Oh my gosh.
I'm glad people get it.
Yeah.
Have a good sense of humor.
Bo and Haleville, I can't read the first part of it, but man, that's tough. He says, will the whole football team not be there with the presentation of the Iron Bowl trophy? A little added motivation. Not that it's needed. He has Alabama knocking off Auburn 94-81. I have to read you what he said.
Yeah, I was about to say, when we get in the break, I want to hear the rest of that. But yeah, I would think the football team would be there. They traditionally they traditionally are. But yeah, you wonder how many guys are, like Milroe, Malachi, some of those guys, Booker, yeah. Are they coming back or are they already off training for the combine?
Absolutely. We have another person texting. He's got 76-75 Bama in overtime.
76-75 in overtime?
Yeah. You talk about on the edge
I'd
of your
love
seat.
An overtime game. I'll take that. Ooh. Granted, I'll be at dinner with my wife if it goes to overtime at that point, but we'll figure it out. We will figure it out.
It's like priorities, babe. We got to make some adjustments. That's one thing about marriage, compromise.
Yeah, can we push that reservation back? Oh no, we can't. Okay. Hope it's a fast game.
Mike from Hayden, he's got Alabama over Auburn 88-83. And somebody else texted in, he's got Alabama 85, Auburn 82. So overall, man, it's on both sides of it, because I do think that in a game like this, we have two of the best teams in college basketball set to do battle, and both sides feel confident that they can go and win this ball game, which is something we hadn't seen in a long time, especially when you look at just where these programs used to be and where they are now. Now the singular focus and pretty much the entire nation is, okay, what's going on down there in the state of Alabama? And all eyes are on us. And the closer we get to tip off, more I'm just like, man, like not to say I didn't have excitement for the football version of the Iron Bowl, but I've never seen a basketball version of the Iron Bowl. Just this, like so much anticipation for the game.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of people, you know, I mean, for me, this is probably outside of the, and it's a different circumstance because I mean, I'll say this: going into the Final Four last year, I was very excited for that game. I was not confident at all that Alabama was going to beat UConn. So it was just one of those things where it's like, oh, it's so cool to be here and to get to, watch this game and there's a chance, there's always a chance, but that was probably the most excited I've ever been for a basketball game in my life just because of how monumental it was for the program. But now, again, it's a regular season game, so it's not the Final Four. It's a little different, but I mean, this is right up there. And I think for a lot of people, this will probably be, the most excited they've been for a Auburn or Alabama basketball game, maybe ever, and certainly in quite some time. So, because this has been a great rivalry. We've had some really good games with Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates there, but this is different, as they say. This is different.
Absolutely. And just a little bit of a left turn right here, going to college football. On 3, Pete Nakos, he reported yesterday. He has an article up on on3.com, and he says an anonymous SEC personnel staffer told him that these are the top 5 teams that spent the most on their transfer portal class heading into 2025. Number 1 on that list are the Auburn Tigers. Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. Number 2, Michigan. 3, Ole Miss. 4, Texas. And 5, Texas Tech. So, again, we'll get back to the basketball front. We definitely want to talk about the Iron Bowl tomorrow. But this is very enlightening, I guess you would say, because now knowing that you spent, if you're an Auburn fan, knowing that you spent at the most money in the transfer portal to get, Singleton from Georgia Tech. You've got multiple guys. You got another running back from UConn. And you got the quarterback in Jackson Arnold, who probably was the biggest quote unquote contract that you got. The expectations in 2025 are not to be, 7-5 fighting for 6 wins. You're expecting this Auburn team to win and win at a high level. If you're spending all this money, and again, don't know the exact numbers, but it's very similar to Ole Miss last year. It's no stones about it. We're going at the transfer portal. They recruited at a high level too in the high school front, having the top 10 signing class. Now it's, okay, Hugh Freeze, this is it. Like, this is the time to get it done, because if you're shelling out as much cash and you're above Michigan, the Ole Misses, and 2 Texas schools, yeah, like I don't think there's going to be much room for error if you're Hugh Freeze and Auburn on the football front.
No, and I think this kind of stuff. Obviously, what happened with DJ Durkin earlier in the week and him getting more than double his salary from last year. I think this is very clearly letting you know, all right, this is it, right? This is your chance, Hugh. This is, go out there. And I don't think that he has to make the playoff or be fired, but he needs to be in the conversation. I think you need a situation where, maybe still in, early November, even mid to late November, when you get to the Iron Bowl, you need to be in the conversation, right? Even if it's as a, okay, well, could a 9-3 Auburn team get into the playoff, what have you, something along those lines. And I think that, again, I said it earlier in the week, credit to Auburn, because they're clearly letting you know that they are trying to turn things around. But I think it's a bit of a double-edged thing there, where they're letting you know, all right, we are all in right now on Hugh Freeze in this football program, but simultaneously, look at everything we're giving you. You have no excuses now. You've got one of the highest-paid coordinators in the entire country. You've got one of the most expensive rosters in the country. You've got a former 5-star quarterback. You got a lot of talent at wide receiver. Defensively, you had a lot of young guys come in last year that have, that year of experience now. It's go time for Auburn. And, we've had this year circled now for the last 2 years, essentially, of, all right, 2025 is really the season. I know there was a lot of optimism that this year could maybe be that year. It wasn't. But yeah, you have no excuses now. And so I think this is Auburn very clearly saying, all right, we need to be competitive. We need to get back to the forefront of college football, but also if it doesn't work out this year, then we have to go in a different direction, because if we're giving you all of this and you still can't get to 8, 9, 10 wins, whatever that expectation is internally at Auburn for next year, you know, sorry, Hugh, but, you know, don't let the door hit you on the way out. So.
Yeah. The return on investment has to be immediate. Like, it can't be one of those things where, oh, we're only one more year away. It's
Well, and I think,
it's now.
something like, and I understand the SEC is completely different. It's a more difficult conference. Totally understand that. But you look at something like Colorado and what happened with them, and, you bring in all of this talent when you hire Deion Sanders. It doesn't really go well for you your first year. But in year 2, I mean, this guy had to rebuild an entire roster. And yes, I know he had Shedeur and Travis Hunter, and that certainly helped a lot. But he was in the playoff conversation this past year, right? Like, they ended up not making it. They ended up falling short, but they won 9 games, and they were in the mix, right, up until the last couple of weeks of the season. And I think that should be the expectation for Hugh Freeze and Auburn. Again, if you don't make the playoff, I don't think that's the end of the world. It would obviously be nice, but you need to be in the conversation.
Yep.
You don't need to be, 6-5 going into the Iron Bowl. Like, oh man, if we win, we'll be 7-5 and end the season on a high note. Like, I don't think that's going to cut it this year.
Yeah. Nick takes in. He says, "Hey guys, I think if Freeze even goes 3-9 or 4-8 this year, he's not gone. Auburn can't afford, from a reputable program perspective, to have fired 3 coaches in 5 years. It'll make the program less attractive for a big name coach, big name of a coach to come be the 4th coach in 5 years for them. But I do think Auburn's ceiling is 10 wins this upcoming year. War damn Eagle."
If Auburn wins 3 games this year, I guarantee you Hugh Freeze is not the coach next year.
Yeah, they'll write that check.
They will figure that out.
They'll write.
And I get what you're saying. Yeah, you don't want to be in a position where it's difficult to get a good replacement for him because of, well, I don't want to take the job. You're, firing coaches every 3 years, and I get that. But you think people are going to keep writing checks to this football program if they continue to, again, as much money as they've gotten this year, if they go out there and win 3, 4, 5 games, whatever, and you don't even make it to a bowl game? I find it hard to believe that they would keep him around.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like, that's interesting. But also, the ceiling being 10 wins, that means Jackson Arnold has finally taken a new leaf.
Yeah, it means everything worked out.
Yeah.
Essentially. And that's possible. That could happen.
It is. 205-834-9450. We'll continue on the Bama Barner Classic, Auburn and Alabama, from the airplane hangar over there in Coleman Coliseum. The banger in the hangar. The banger in the hangar. We'll discuss that some more. Get your reaction on the Jox text line. The phone line's 205-834-9450. Keep it locked right here on Jox 94.5. Oh, yeah, Conrad. Setting the tone. Setting the tone on this Valentine's Day. Bring up the old Barmer banner.
I'm just trying to help anybody out that's maybe listening at home and,
Yeah.
you know, you got your wife's getting ready for work and, you know, you're just playing this in the background. They go, oh,
Yeah, she gonna
playing
be
me some Marvin Gaye today. All
Yeah,
right.
she might be a little late messing around. It's early in the morning. We were talking about the Bamber Barner Classic. I didn't know that it set the mood like that. I thought
Well, it's Valentine's Day, you know.
it is. It is.
Got to celebrate.
Got to. I think it's gonna be hopefully everybody has a fun day. If you have a house divided, at least you can put all the stuff to the side and
At least everyone has the a Bammer Barner Classic to look forward to.
absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah, the banger and the hanger, as some would call it.
We've heard that. Yeah.
We have.
Mhm.
We have. We've got the Yellowhammer Classic, which is it's fair.
See, I like Yellowhammer versus Yellowwood better.
I don't know what has happened this morning. I do not
Well,
know.
you don't like that idea?
I mean, you know. Yeah, it's good.
That stuff's all okay now, right?
Steven, it's too early in the morning, man. It's too early in the morning. He asks who takes the money shot.
Yeah, maybe it'll be Aiden Holloway, you know, hitting him. I'm just saying he's a good 3-point shooter. It'd be very poetic, you know, against his former team.
Yeah,
Maybe at the buzzer.
it'd be awesome. It'd be great. We'd be interested to see. How about we just stick to the eyeball? How about we just stick to the Iron Bowl of basketball? I do think some of these names are extremely
Well, considering
clever.
this is now going to be our last show ever, probably. It's, at least we're
Hey, full send,
at
baby.
least we're having fun with it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Somebody takes in the Cowtown versus Titletown showdown.
Okay.
It's a mouthful, but it'll work. He also picks Alabama to knock off Auburn 85-79. I'm here for it. I think it all be all the fact that college basketball on full display will be represented by the state of Alabama. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that in our lifetimes we would see a number 1 versus number 2 matchup and it'd be Auburn and Alabama in basketball?
It's just great because, I mean, growing up, you know, I always enjoyed the Duke and North Carolina rivalry. And, you know, I kind of bought into it. And granted, you know, we couldn't relate to it in the same sense because, well, you know, it's not in the SEC, right? So we're not as familiar with it. But, you know, those kinds of moments. And I just remember growing up and you know, seeing all the promotion for them. And, you know, you'd see, you know, ESPN would advertise that out the wazoo and, you know, really, really build it up. And there were a lot of really, really great games. And it just felt like it meant so much for not only those two programs, but it typically had NCAA tournament implications. And now to be able to have that here in our own state with Alabama and Auburn it's special, man, because it's one of those things where it's great right now. And I hope that we get to continue the success for a while in basketball. But, you know, let's be honest. How long is it going to be until we get another number 1 versus number 2? Now, maybe we get it again this year, but, you know, this has just been such a remarkable year, and hopefully that this is able to continue for years to come. But, you know, you might not see this again.
Yeah, you're really wrong. And going back to our conversation about, you know, Auburn being the biggest spender in the transfer portal, somebody texted in and says if Hugh Freeze got to go 9-3 to stay, Hugh's gone. Dang.
I still think, again, it kind of depends on who you win or who you beat and who you lose to. I feel like 8-4 is probably good enough for him to keep his job. Anything less than that, I think, is where it starts to get a little murky. And then, yeah, definitely if you're not going to a bowl game, that's a different conversation.
And Dave texts in, he says, Texas, Georgia, Auburn, Alabama, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Florida will be your playoff contenders next year in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, I would throw LSU and South Carolina in there as well, as at least, you know, on paper contenders. But
in Florida, I don't know. There's
a lot of people that are.
I think DJ Lagway's great, but
schedule's still really, really difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's tough.
Well, and it changes things too because you know, this year, you know, I think in a lot of years we will see a 9-3 team get into the playoff, and this year obviously that didn't happen. And so that's where some of these things get more interesting, right? Because if you're telling me a 9-3 team gets in the playoff next year, okay, then yeah, you could talk me into Florida a little bit more, something like that. But if 10 wins, that'd be a pretty big jump.
Going back to the Bama Barner Classic. Somebody texts in and says, in the last 5 years, Alabama Auburn has been significantly more impactful to college hoops national picture than Duke Carolina. It's a crazy times in this state, so enjoy them.
Absolutely.
Somebody else takes in, is this a threat to Alabama's football dominance?
What, the Auburn money thing with how much they're paying?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe it at least on paper, it makes the roster look better. But I don't necessarily think that it's a, sky's falling situation in Alabama. I think they're still pretty good if you hadn't seen their recruiting.
I was about to say, I think Alabama still probably has a better roster top to bottom.
Right.
I don't think that.
Oh boy. They're still coming in, dog. It's they said we need Dickie V at the BBC. Let's go to the phone lines, 205-834-9450. Let's go to Don Don, who wants to talk Bama Barner Classic on Saturday. What's going on, Don Don?
Good morning, my buddies, Ward Damn Eagle, and Conrad cue the Michael Buffer music, the rumble in the airport hangar.
Okay.
I don't think that was going to stick.
All right.
We got you.
You like that more than Banger in the Hangar?
No, actually, you know something? I kind of like the banger in the hangar. Whoever came up with that one, I like that one.
Yeah, that one.
I don't like the Bamber versus the Barners, though. I don't like being called Barners.
Yeah, I was about to say. I feel like one fan base maybe would be more approving of that one than the other, but there's a lot of great options.
Yeah, and then when we play the round two, the rumble in the jungle would be perfect.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, that would be a good one. Yeah.
Okay, well, let me give you some keys to the game, in my opinion, fellas. I think Auburn has to force Alabama in the turnovers, and Auburn's got to score points off the turnovers when we do turnovers. And I think the magic number for you guys, Conrad, is y'all need to keep it under 15 turnovers, and Auburn needs to keep Alabama from scoring over 80 points. So my prediction is Auburn 78-72.
Okay.
I like it.
And I think Broom's going to have the magic number for Broom is 24 points and 15 rebounds.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Hey, he getting after it.
That'd be a heck of a game.
I'm going to tell you that the key player for Auburn, and I know you guys mentioned him the other day, how good he played. I think Chaney Johnson is Auburn's chance to win this game, with Chaney having a big game, because I don't think Chaney had that great a game against Florida last week. I don't think Chaney scored. And also, too, we got to get Chad Baker-Mazara healthy, because he didn't even score a point against Vanderbilt.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you, Don Don. What are you expecting from Chad Baker-Mazara? Because we know, obviously, he impacts the game without scoring, just, with how he is,
yeah,
and obviously his personality, too, but...
Right, but he's such a great defender, and more than likely, the way Auburn's been doing it, guys, and everything, they'll put Dylan Cardwell out on a point guard to defend him and everything. So I think you're going to see Dylan Cardwell. I think Bruce likes to play a zone defense, so I think you're going to have Cardwell trying to slow down Mark Sears a little bit. I don't know if but you know what, guys? I don't know if that'll work or not, because Sears is a hell of a ball player. Okay, I'll give him that and everything. And I just got a feeling, gut down in my heart, that you're right, that Aiden Holloway could hit the shot at the end of the game to get me, Conrad. I really do.
Well, it's going to be a good one, Don.
You picked Auburn to win. Now all of a sudden you think Aiden Holloway's going to hit the money shot?
I'm picking Auburn to win, but in case we do lose, Damien, I'm just saying I think it'll be Aiden Holloway that gets me if we do lose.
I got you. So you're not confident that Auburn wins. You're just picking Auburn to win.
No, I'm not overly confident in the game. No, I'm not.
Well, he picked Alabama like 3 days ago.
I see. I just it makes no sense. Makes no sense.
Hey, you can have a change of heart, though, but...
If you ain't confident in it, don't pick him. Don't pick him. Oh, my gosh.
Your team. What?
Somebody said the Bob at Auburn is going to be called the battle in the land of the cattle.
That's good. I like that.
We'll continue on the other side.
Got some Dr. Seuss's in the house this morning.
We got to make some picks on our final score Friday. Keep them coming. 205-834-9450. Keep it locked right here on JOX 94.5. .651 here on Morning JOX. It has been a wonderful, wonderful Valentine's Day. Hopefully everybody has enjoyed it. It's been fun. It's been a fun ride. Just different name for the iBob and just kind of getting the final scores on the final score Friday. Or at least that's what I thought we were going to do. And then it took a turn for, I ain't going to say the worst, but it was definitely some laughs.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. I hope we're back on Monday.
Yeah, hope so. It's been good. Somebody said the Battle for the Beautiful, the last game in Neville Arena.
Okay, yeah.
Like that. I think Banger in the Hanger is that one sticks.
It's just funny because we have, We love all of our listeners so much, and just you can tell which ones have different senses of humor. And
Exactly. It's a wide range.
I was about to say, some people wake up and they're feeling very wholesome, and some other people are waking up and
Ready to get some of that Valentine's Day love.
That's right. That's right. I appreciate the variety that we've gotten.
Alan texts in and says, "Didn't Josh Turner write a song about the Barner Classic?" If I think he is thinking about, you know the song,
I think so.
Long Black Train. Alan, you're gonna be the reason. You're gonna be the reason. Let's go to the phone lines before we get out of here with Larry. Wants to talk some ball with us. What's going on this morning, Larry?
Hey guys, enjoy the show every day, guys. Really do. How about when you think of Dixie, does it remind you of just Alabama, or Alabama and Auburn both with the word Dixie? Does that come to? Just curious.
I'm gonna sit this one out.
How about the DBBD, the Dixie B-Ball Delight? Who knows? I just thought of that. That was crazy. But one other question, guys. If Auburn fans and the Auburn alum and the Auburn governing board or whomever lets y'all's coach go next year, if they go 7-5 or 6-6 or 8-4, I think, in my opinion, everybody's got one. It'll be the worst thing they can do because another 3 or 4 years of building. That's just my opinion, guys. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it, Larry.
We appreciate you, man.
Oh my. It just makes me think of the song.
Yeah. Oh boy, this has been a fun one today, y'all. It has been an absolutely wonderful time, but we got to give our picks for the
Do we have to?
for the Iron Bowl basketball. I think Alabama gets them at home. I do think that the pace that Alabama plays with is going to be beneficial. I think Mark Sears is going to have a big game. I just think collectively that the ability that Alabama has to hit shots at such a high clip, it's going to be a little bit too much for Auburn. But I think Alabama gets it 85-81.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to you. Again, I think Alabama gets it at home. I think you're splitting hairs a lot with these teams. There's ways that you could see it going sideways for Alabama, ways you could see it going sideways for Auburn. But ultimately, I think we're going to get a split. Alabama wins at home. Auburn wins at home when they play in Neville. So, yeah, I'm going to take Alabama 87-84.
It's going to be a good one regardless. I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a lot of fun. And whatever you call it, Bob, Bammer Classic, the Yellowhammer Classic, Red Clay Rivalry, whatever you want to do it, however you want to say it. It's number 1 versus number 2, Auburn, Alabama. It's going to be fun. It's on ESPN, 3 o'clock. And people that know about the Iron Bowl, Mac and Q, they're coming up next.